The bird who sang in the dark. Once upon a time, in a village nestled between rolling hills and a sparkling river, there lived a boy named Mateo. Mateo was known for his infectious laughter and his thirst for adventure. His days were filled with exploring the woods behind his house, and his nights were filled with dreaming of faraway lands. But one day, disaster struck. A freak accident robbed Mateo of his sight, plunging his world into darkness. The vibrant colors and playful shadows that once brought him joy now mocked him with their absence. The world he knew shrunk to the confines of his bedroom walls. Laughter died on his lips and adventure became a distant memory. All he had were his memories and the whispers of his former life. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and the once boisterous boy became a shadow of his former self. The accident had not only taken his sight, but also his spirit. One afternoon, drawn by an inexplicable pull, Mateo found himself at the local park. He sat down on a nearby bench, resigned to the fact that even the sun's warmth seemed like a distant legend to him. As he closed his eyes, surrendering to the heavy silence, he heard it, a sweet, lilting bird song drifting through the air. It was a melody so enchanting that it seemed to paint pictures in his mind's eye. If only he could see. Curious and hopeful, Mateo followed the sound, each note pulling him closer to its source. He reached out, feeling for any landmark, for anything familiar, and his fingers brushed against the rough bark of a tree. Instinctively, he leaned against it, and that's when he heard the old man. "Just listen here, son. Isn't that a pretty tune?" The old man's voice was like a soothing balm, calming the storm of emotions that had been raging within Mateo. Mateo turned his head towards the voice and asked, "Where is it coming from?" The old man smiled, his voice crinkling at the corners like tissue paper. "From the little guy up there, of course," he said, nodding towards a small canary in a rusty cage hanging from the branch above them. And so began Mateo's daily ritual. Every afternoon, drawn by the promise of music, he would sit on the same bench under the same tree. The bird would perch on its swing, its tiny chest puffing up as it sang the same gentle tune, filling the air with its sweet melody. For Mateo, it was more than just a song. It was a connection to the world, a reminder that beauty still existed even in his absence. The bird's song became his light in the darkness, a melody that chased away the shadows in his heart and made him laugh again. As weeks passed, Mateo's spirits soared with each note the bird sang. The melody became his inspiration, urging him to take small steps outside his home, to explore the world beyond his window. One day, the old man placed the cage in Mateo's lap and said, "He's yours now." Startled, Mateo looked up. "What do you mean?" The old man's eyes twinkled. "I've grown old, Mateo, and this little fellow needs someone younger to take care of him. Will you give him a home?" Mateo hesitated. He loved the bird and its song, but the thought of taking care of it, of being responsible for another living being, filled him with a mix of excitement and trepidation. Looking into the trusting eyes of the bird, he knew what he had to do. "Yes," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion, "I'll take care of him." When Mateo got home, he opened the door of the cage, half expecting the bird to fly away. But it didn't. It just looked at him, tilted its head, and then hopped onto his shoulder. And that's when Mateo truly understood. He may have lost his sight, but he would never live in darkness again. Not as long as the bird kept singing. And that's the story of the bird who sang in the dark. If you like this story and want more, I will really appreciate if you share, like, and subscribe. See you again next time.